Well, you know what it's like. You acquire all sorts of flight sim gear and get frustrated because you got nowhere to put it. Maybe your desk is too small, or perhaps you don't even have a desk. Or maybe you want to build your own sim pit. If you fall into any one of those categories, then today's product, the VelocityOne Stand from Turtle Beach, may be of interest to you. What is it? Well, it's an adjustable and configurable stand for your PC or Xbox peripherals, designed with a flight and racing simmer in mind. Compatible, of course, with Turtle Beach's flight sim gear, as well as a variety of third-party products. In this video, we'll have a look at the setup, practical use, and my views and opinions on this new entrance from Turtle Beach. Welcome back to the Sim Hangar. My name's Mark. Thanks very much for watching, and let's get started. The stand arrives in a cardboard box weighing about 9 kg or 20 pounds. It's well packed, which it needs to be to prevent damage. It's a fairly heavy item, and all plastics used are compost degradable. With the stand itself, you get a few accessories, the obligatory quick start guide, 4 rubber lugs which we'll cover later on, and some cable ties for cable management. The supplied documentation is brief, to the point, but more than adequate to get you up and away. Let's get this set up. It features convenient locking levers. Tension can be adjusted by a bolt at the back. Step 1, making sure the locking lever is loose. Let's pull up the faceplate stand. Lock it in place so it doesn't fall back on your fingers. Check that it's held tight. That's good and sturdy. Now we need to remove the rudder plate so we can put it in the correct position. When it arrives, it's held in place by 4 rotary lugs. Step 2, let's remove these. The current position of the rudder plate is purely for transportation, so we need to reposition it in the correct place. You only need 2 of the rotary lugs to hold the rudder plate in place, 1 on either side. The other 2 will be used to hold the front bar in the desired position, as this is also fully adjustable. You would extend or retract this based on your space requirements and depending on your configuration to improve stability if required. After removing all 4 rotary lugs, remove the rudder or base plate. If you're doing it on a hard surface as I am, just keep a finger underneath it to stop it scratching. If you're doing this on a carpet, of course, you wouldn't have to worry. On either side of the stand, for the base or rudder plate, there are 2 separate fixing positions. The one you use will depend on your configuration and also how long your legs are. The sides of the rudder plate have slots in, so once in position it can be moved up and down for smaller adjustments. If using this for rudder pedals in a standard config, make sure the larger cutout is facing towards the faceplate stand to better accommodate the length of the rudder pedals themselves. Replace the lugs and tighten slightly to hold in place. We can tilt the faceplate stand by loosening this knob here. Note the bolt on the other side is welded in place, so don't try and loosen that. Loosen it to create space between the teeth, and the faceplate can now be angled to any one that you desire. To accommodate the VelocityOne flight, we need to swivel it round. This makes sense as it's following the contour of the VelocityOne flight itself. To adjust the height, release the locking lever, and there's a massive amount of adjustment available. Raise or lower to a suitable height, then lock in place with the lever. Again, a reminder, adjusting the bolt on the other side will adjust the amount of tension that you can apply via the locking lever. And from a basic setup, well, we're done. It's as simple as that and pretty difficult to make an error. And we're now ready to attach our peripherals. Once they're attached, we can make small adjustments again to suit. Just a note, when I attached the rudders, I removed the rudder plate, attached the rudders first, and then replaced on the stand. I found that easier. This is the standard position we'd be flying in, with our legs either side of the faceplate support going onto the rudder pedals. It's also the most space efficient. There's one further adjustment you may need to make, and that's to the arm extension. There are 3 bolts with wing nuts holding them in place. Removing the one as indicated will allow for much greater extension of the arm, and removing the other and replacing it further along will allow for maximum extension, which coincidentally is something you'll need to do for the VelocityOne flight. This arm extension, of course, is for the throttle quadrant. As we saw earlier, supplied are 4 rubber lugs. As the extension arm slides from underneath the faceplate, it is lower, so these lugs can be placed in a variety of different positions on the extension arm and is principally for the throttle quadrant to ensure that when it's screwed down, it isn't bending. It's remaining flush with the yoke. If you have any Turtle Beach flight sim accessories, they would have come with screws. The flight stick with 3, the yoke and throttle quadrant with 6. And these are used, obviously, to attach the peripheral to the faceplate or baseplate as required. The yoke, for example, has 3 on the main body and 3 on the throttle quadrant. Here, for example, I've attached the Turtle Beach flight stick. I found in this configuration I could only line up for 2 screws, not the 3. It would have been a nice touch if Turtle Beach had indicated on the stand, perhaps with a small insignia or logo where the various screw holes line up. Although there's been no official announcement, so I'm speculating here, but I'm relatively confident there'll be a throttle quadrant to complement the flight stick coming in the not too distant future. I've now attached the VelocityOne flight and rudder pedals to the stand. This of course could be used standalone, but in this case, just as an example, I've pushed it up against my desk. Here you can see the 4 nuts and bolts used to hold the rudder in place. Rudders were easy to fix. I found the yoke quite difficult. You might find it easier to get some assistance to do it. However, once you get 1 or 2 screws lined up, it's fairly straightforward. The reason I'm showing it pushed up against my desk, as it's often a big hassle putting on and taking off various peripherals as you use your desk for other things. The VelocityOne Stand simply allows you to put it in place fairly quickly and easily, really just an issue of convenience. The main parts of the VelocityOne flight stand are steel, therefore it's relatively sturdy for normal day-to-day use. There is of course some movement on the extension arm, particularly if you've got it up high, but it's not overly significant. Final positioning is a bit of trial and error. I need to push my rudder pedals slightly further forward. When not in use, you can fold up into a fairly compact size, but that's only possible if peripherals are not attached. Specifications and other information can be gained from the Turtle Beach website, link in the notes below. And so on to my final thoughts and opinions. The appeal for a product such as this will depend on your personal circumstance and how much space you have. It's a practical and workable solution of acceptable quality for those that need it. I've shown the stand in the standard configuration, but with all its various adjustments, multiple different configurations are possible and practical. What I would like to see, because of all the various fixture holes available on the various faceplates, I'd like to see Turtle Beach come out with templates showing us what fits where and what third-party peripherals will fit. As far as I'm aware, there's no defined list at this time, and not everybody will have VelocityOne flight equipment. And this product has wider appeal. This information is definitely needed. This is information they could easily put on their support website for the VelocityOne Stand. Price-wise, considering its steel construction, is in and around the right ballpark. In my opinion, it's not as sturdy as some of the third-party bespoke racing stands, for example, but this product has considerable more flexibility and configurability to it, and is considerably more sturdy than Next Level's entry product. Thanks very much for joining me. I hope you found it useful and informative. Look after yourselves, stay well, and bye for now.